Bidens. Namaste, a very warm welcome to everyone to the Vedic Astrology Masterclass series. I am Miss Archana and I will be your host for this session. Today's masterclass will be given by Sri PVR Narasimha Rao. He will be teaching us how to link different divisional charts. Before we continue, I would like to take a minute to share a few hygiene points. Please note that in this masterclass session, all the viewers will be on mute. Any questions that you would like to ask can be typed in the comment section. The class will be for about 50 minutes, post which the technical team will relay the questions for the speaker to answer them. Now, I take the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Sri Narasimha Rao. PVR Narasimha Rao has a bachelor's degree from IIT Madras and a master's degree from Rice University, Houston, USA, and works in Greater Boston as a senior engineering manager at a top semiconductor firm. He is also a Sanskrit scholar with Sanskrita Bhasha Kovida and Sanskrita Bhasha Visharada degrees and combines his Sanskrit knowledge with scientific temper to conduct fresh research into the teachings of rishis. Jyotish students and researchers use Jagannatha Hora software authored by him and freely downloadable on his website vedicastrologer.org. Many do-it-yourself Homa Havan manuals can also be freely downloadable on this website. Before I hand it over to Sri Narasimha Rao, I would like to take a minute to give you a brief introduction of our foundation. The Raman and Rajeswari Research Foundation was founded by Dr. B.V. Raman and his son Sri NIRANJAN BABU in the year 1983. The foundation is a non-profit endeavoring to revive, rejuvenate, and promote the study of Vedic astrology, Vastu, Yoga, Ayurveda, Vedanta, and other related Indian sciences. Under the leadership of its current chairman, Sri Niranjan Babu, the foundation has emerged as a pioneer in the advancement and digitization of Vedic astrology. It has developed and distributed free astrological software, digitized astrological content, and undertaken path-breaking research in Vedic astrology, including use of artificial intelligence, big data, spatial analysis, etc., and making it accessible to the astrological world. The foundation has also funded and supported various Vedic activities like building temples, sponsoring Vedic marriages, etc. The foundation has established a fund to honor pioneers in the field of Vedic astrology. The eminent list of scholars who have received recognition by the foundation include Dr. David Frawley, Dr. T.S. Vasan, Dr. Bill Levesey, Dr. Arulumallige Parthasarathi, Swami Sitaramananda, Swami Sukhabodhananda, and D.N. Muni Krishna, to name a few. Till date, the foundation has organized over 100 events, including conferences, lectures, seminars, and workshops, and has received tremendous support from the press and public alike. If you would like to stay informed about the activities of the foundation, we encourage you to visit our website www.rrrf.in or join our Telegram channel. We will now begin the masterclass on linking different divisional charts. Kindly note that any questions that you might have for our teacher today can be typed and posted in the comments section. At the end of the session, the speaker will answer them one by one. Dear Sri Narasimha Rao, over to you.
For the Raman and Rajeswari Foundation for this opportunity. Namaste, all of you. Before I talk about linking various divisional charts, I want to lay some foundation. I want to talk about divisional charts in general. So let me share my screen. I will talk about linking divisional charts, and first I will talk about divisional charts for those who may not be very familiar with those. Parashara Maharshi, in his magnum opus, Brihat Parashara Hora Shastram, also known in the community as BPHS, he taught 16 different charts, 16 divisional charts, Rashi chart, as well as 15 other charts. And these charts are defined based on dividing each Rashi into n parts. N can be 2, 3, 4, 9, 12, various numbers. And there are various options. So divide each Rashi into n parts and map each part to a Rashi again. And then you construct a chart like that based on the Rashi that a planet is mapped to, and you get Rashi and other divisional charts. And people are familiar with Navamsha. Navamsha is basically dividing the Rashi into 9 parts and mapping those 9 parts to other signs. For example, the 9 parts of Aries going to Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc. up to Sagittarius. Like that, there are 16 different charts that Parashara mentioned. The Rashi chart, according to Parashara, shows the material or physical existence, whereas the other charts show various abstract environments in which we lead our existence. Just look at it with common sense. The Rashi chart is based on the physical positions of the planets. When you say that Moon is in Taurus, he is actually in Taurus physically. Similarly, the chart also shows things that are physical, things that are tangible, material, whereas the divisional charts are more abstract. You're saying that the first part of Aries goes here, the second part of Aries goes here. You're mapping, so it's more abstract. So that is why these charts show various abstract environments. And what I mean by abstract environments is your professional environment, your financial environment, your spiritual environment, your academic environment, your marital environment, etc. So these are various environments in which our material existence takes place. So these are more at the abstract level, but the thing is they do intersect with the physical level. So Rashi chart is very important because we do care a lot about the material existence, and as I said earlier, all environments finally intersect with the material existence, and they affect the material existence, and in the end we are only aware of our material existence, most people basically. So that is why Rashi chart is given a lot of importance in tradition. But one thing you have to note is Rashi chart, Lagna stays the same in the same sign for 2 hours. So people born in the same 2-hour window will have the same Rashi chart. But we know for a fact that there are a lot of twins and triplets and quadruplets who are born like maybe 2 or 3 minutes apart, but their lives are totally different. So Rashi chart is not sufficient, but it is very important. By the way, for the rest of this talk, I will be using a notation. I will use the expression either dn or d-n to indicate the divisional chart that is obtained by dividing each Rashi into n equal parts. Now let us talk about what various divisional charts actually show. I said that Rashi chart shows the material existence, and various other divisional charts show various things, various environments. So we can organize the maximum chart, the biggest chart Parashara talked about. The biggest number is D60. So we are going from 1 to 60. We can divide it into 1 to 12, 13 to 24, etc. 12 harmonics. So the first 12, they focus on the Annamaya Kosha. Upanishads talk about 5 koshas, 5 sheaths of existence. All of us have an Annamaya Kosha, which is the material body, and then there is a Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, etc. We'll talk about them later. So Annamaya Kosha is at the level of matter. So there are any charts that are between 1 and 12 belong to this sheath. And D1 specifically is one's own physical existence. It is basically what you consider as I. This is I. And then the rest of the ones from D2 to D12, they show your belongings, what you consider as mine. So all these are at the physical level, but the first one is I, and the rest are your belongings in this world. And then there are a few specific charts that Parashara mentioned. Not all 2 to 12, not all 11 charts were mentioned by Parashara. A few numbers are actually mentioned. We'll talk about what each of those show in the next slide, but we'll see the basic philosophy first. The next kosha is Pranamaya Kosha. This is the level of vital force. There is a vital force that is animating all our activities. This is not exactly nervous energy, because nervous energy, the electricity flowing through the nerves, is still at the Annamaya Kosha. It is still at the level of matter. So this is more subtle. There is a subtle body that we have in which prana is flowing through various nadis. So it is basically that level, the level of vital force that animates all our existence. And any chart between 13 and 24 will be will belong to this kosha. And the three specific charts Parasara mentioned in this level are D16, D20 and D24. And one thing you can notice is, if you remove multiples of 12, you get 4, 8 and 12. So these charts 4 and 8, 4, 8 and 12 are the 12th from 5, 9 and 1, the trines. And that shows on what you are spending the prana. So pranamaya kosha shows, see, prana is universal. There is a universal prana. The divine mother is what animates the entire cosmos, and we are drawing a little bit of that prana, that energy, to animate our activities in this world. So on what we are expending the energy, on what we are spending this energy, is shown by these charts. And D16, like I said, is based on a seed of 4, and that is the 12th from 12th house from 5th is Purapunya. So it is using the Purapunya, all the good work that you have done earlier, to feel comfortable, to be happy in life. So this is basically, this shows happiness, comforts, etc. And D20, if you remove 12, it is 8. So it is based on a seed of 8th house. So that is the 12th from 9th house, 9th house of tapas, 9th house of religion and dharma. So it shows spending prana on religious activities, on tapas, etc. So this is spiritual sadhana. And Parasara says, Upasanaya Vijnanam Sadhyam Visyati Bhagya. So it shows the upasana, spiritual sadhana and spiritual progress one makes. And D24 is the 12th from first house. And D24 is based on a seed of 12, and that is the 12th from first house. And first house is your very existence, your brain, your head, etc. So that is your intellect. That's the seat of intellect. So using the intellect, so that is basically using the brain to understand the world around us. So this is basically learning, scholarship. So these are the three charts at the pranamaya kosha level. And next comes the manomaya kosha level. So this is at the level of mind. And mind is nothing but various notions of, I need this, I don't need this, I should avoid this is good, this is bad, etc. All those vasanas coming from various lives are at the level of manas. And there are only two charts mentioned in this range between 25 and 36. Those are D27 and D30, Nakshatramsha and Trimsamsha. If you remove multiples of 12, this is 3 and 6. So 3 and 6 are the seed houses at this level. 3 is the house of initiative. This is the house of the drive and initiative. So this shows sankalpas and vikalpas. So the initiative that you have based on your vasanas, that I need this, I don't need, I should avoid this. So all those sankalpas and vikalpas are shown by D27. So these are your subconscious instincts to want something or to avoid something. So these are the subconscious instincts. And D30, like I said, is based on the seed of 6. So that is 6th house is the house of fighting enemies and fighting. So that is fighting the Papapurusha within. So based on the vasanas from various lives, there are various sins that we have: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaras. So fighting those 6 Shadripus that are within our mind. So that is shown by D30. And Vijnanamaya Kosha is the next kosha. Vijnana means subtle wisdom, not just normal intellectual knowledge, but this is very subtle wisdom. By the way, this does not show the material knowledge, all the normal knowledge that we consider as knowledge, either astrological knowledge or knowledge of math and science. Those are from D24. So this is basically very subtle wisdom. And you can see that if you remove 36, the multiple of 12 here, the seeds are 4 and 9. 4 is mother and 9 is father. So mother and father here represent Shakti and Shiva, the divine mother and the divine father. And what mother and father show there is Satyam and Ritam. All Upanishadic scriptures talk about Satyam and Ritam. They distinguish between them, even though some people translate them the same way. Satyam means truth, absolute truth, and Ritam means the cosmic rhythm. what is meant to be, how Divine Mother wills things to happen. So it is Divine Mother's will, that is Ratam, and Satyam is absolute truth. So D40 shows how aligned one is with the Ratam, and D45 shows how aligned one is with Satyam, because the pure wisdom comes from being aligned with the absolute truth, cosmic truth, as well as the cosmic rhythm of the time. And Parasara says that D40 shows your Subhashubham, so all the auspicious and inauspicious. But what I concluded after doing research and also thinking about contemplating on what Parasara studies, this shows whether you are swimming with the cosmic will or swimming against the cosmic will. When D40 dashas based on D40 show that you have a bad time, you may be doing really auspicious work, very good work, important work, but there may be a lot of obstacles. So it shows how aligned you are with the divine will, and this shows how aligned you are with the perfect truth, absolute truth, Shiva, Shakti, and Shiva. And then finally, Anandamaya Kosha is the final sheet. This is the level of bliss. And by bliss, we don't mean the happiness coming from having a car or happiness coming from meeting some people that you like, etc. This is pure bliss at the core of one's existence. So this is, for example, somebody like Vivekananda, he was animated to go around the world and spread Hindu Dharma, and spreading Hindu Dharma gave him a deep bliss at the deep level. So this is basically what you consider as your mission in life, because when you do what you came to this world for, it gives you indescribable happiness. So that basically is Anandamaya Kosha. So this basically shows what binds you and what frees you. And this is based on D60 is based on a seed of 12th house, so that is bondage. But again, what binds you will also give you, once you fulfill it, it will liberate you. So this is basically the final chart. And no wonder Parasara says this shows everything. He says Shashtyan se Akhilam Ikshayat. So he says Akhilam Ikshayat. You see everything in D60, because this shows what you really consider as your purpose in life. So this is a very, very important chart. Unfortunately, the Lagna changes so fast, so you need to have a very accurate time. So now let us see. So that is the philosophy at a high level. Now let us boil it down to things that are more clear to people. D1 shows the physical existence, and D2 shows the finances, wealth. D3 shows siblings, D4 shows your residence and landed properties, D7 shows your progeny, D9 shows the dharma and marriage, and D10 shows work in the world, including career but not limited to career, and D12 shows parents and of course their parents or grandparents, etc. D16 shows comforts and luxuries and also lack of those. D20 shows spiritual sadhana, D24 shows learning, both learning of the kind of mathematics, sciences, etc., as well as aparvidya as well as paravidya. So things beyond this world, like learning, understanding Vedanta, understanding astrology, etc. D27 shows strengths and weaknesses at a subconscious level. So this is basically what one's instincts are to do something or to avoid something. And D30 is fighting the inner enemies. D40 is alignment with the cosmic rhythm, and D45 is alignment with the cosmic truth. And finally, D60 is karmic momentum driving one at the deepest levels of one's existence. Now, a lot of people are tempted to just use the Rashi chart, because once you get somebody's birth data, unless the time is the birth time is on the border of two signs, which has a low probability, you basically know that you know the Rashi chart. So it is very easy to make predictions only using Rashi chart. Whereas if you want to use something like D60 or D45 or D40, you need to have a very accurate time. And for that, you need to reverse engineer. You need to take a few events and reverse engineer and see if the time makes sense. So it's laborious. It takes a lot of time. So people are tempted to use only the Rashi chart and maybe sometimes Navamsha chart. But the thing is, there are some pitfalls of using only Rashi chart. And as a matter of fact, when Parasara gave numerical strengths to various charts, he actually gave the highest strength to the Shashtyamsha chart. So unfortunately, Rashi chart is not sufficient. But it shows what is happening at the material level. So, for example, if you see somebody like Amitabh Bachchan, he may have a very strong eighth house, so he may be working hard, he may be putting a lot of stress on himself physically. But if you see his Dasamsa chart, you may see terrific Rajoga, somebody whose professional environment shows that people really, really admire him, etc. But physically, he may be suffering. So, in the end, everything boils down to the physical level, but it can be misleading also. So, I will give you an analogy. Imagine a multi-story building. The divisional charts are like the floor plans of various floors in that multi-story building, whereas Rashi chart is like all the floor plans combined together. You project all the floors to the ground floor. You basically make a map, and that is basically like the Rashi chart to show pictorially. Suppose a building has floor 1 kitchen, living room, bedroom, storage here. Another floor has library, office, meeting room. Like that, basically you have the maps of various floors, and then when you combine all those into one map, which is basically the Rashi chart. This is Navamsha, Dasamsha, Dvasamsha, etc. And this is Rashi chart, the material existence where everything will impact in the end. Everything is basically combined. So it is so difficult to decipher this, whereas it is easier to decipher this. So some people say, some people have a philosophy. First, see Rashi chart, see everything in the Rashi chart, and then once you see something about the career or marriage or children or whatever area of life, then confirm from the divisional chart. In my opinion, my humble opinion, this is because people don't use the correct divisional charts. Either they don't use right Ayanamsha or right definitions of divisional charts. So people basically pay lip service to divisional charts. Even people who use divisional charts typically pay lip service to it. They rely more on the Rashi chart. But as this analogy should show you, it is much easier to look at a particular floor first, and then if you want to see how it relates to the material existence, you can then look at the Rashi chart as a secondary. So in other words, people use Rashi chart as primary and the divisional chart as secondary. What I will advocate is divisional chart is primary and Rashi chart is secondary. For example, just to drive it home, look at fourth house. It shows heart, it shows mother, it shows education, it shows residence, it shows spiritual direction, it shows in general peace and happiness, it shows wife's career, it shows vehicle, it shows lot of things. I didn't mention everything it shows. It shows so many things. So if there are some afflictions to fourth house, to figure out which of these will suffer is difficult. On the other hand, if you are interested in the education of the person, you directly look at the D24, you clearly have a better idea. So like that, divisional charts show clarity in a particular area of life. So it is better to use them primarily. Well, of course, this is once you are confident of the part time. So use the divisional chart primarily and then confirm from the Rashi chart. And then one more thing I will show in this talk is, apart from combining the Rashi chart and divisional chart, you can try to combine various divisional chart, because one's career and marriage may intersect, or one's career and one's father may have a relationship. So D12 and D10 may have a link. So it is possible to link various divisional charts also, which we will see later. Before I go further, a couple of things I want to touch on. First, Ainamsha. When you are using divisional chart, Ainamsha is very important. Using the correct Ainamsha, because the signs occupied by various planets in various divisions can change based on the Ainamsha. And especially if you use Lahiri Ainamsha and Pushpaksha Ainamsha, there is more than a degree difference. So in some of the higher charts, or maybe even in Navamsha, Dasamsha, there is a higher probability of getting different signs for Lagna and various planets. And just to confirm, I use Pushpaksha Ainamsha, and in my researches, I find it to be a lot more accurate. So I use Pushpaksha Ainamsha, not Lahiri Ainamsha. And I don't mean to tick off people who are attached to Lahiri Ainamsha, but the background of the Ainamsha is it's just a political construct. Nehru appointed a bureaucrat, Mr. Lahiri, his friend, close friend, to standardize the definition of festivals in India, because people were defining the festivals differently across India. So that was his mandate. Really, he wasn't an astrologer. He wasn't really going to standardize astrological calculations. He just wanted to standardize the festival definition, and he came up with Lahiri Ainamsha without any astrological factors, and that basically ended up being adopted by a majority of the astrologers of the time. And it is only a few decades old, whereas the Ainamsha given in Surya Siddhanta, which is closer to Pushpaksha Ainamsha, has been used for millennia. So people say that Lahiri Ainamsha is used by a lot of people, but this is a temporary thing. In any case, the Ainamsha that I use is much closer to Raman Ainamsha. I believe it is only 15 to 20 minutes apart from Raman Ainamsha. So it is closer to that than Lahiri Ainamsha. And like I said, Lahiri Ainamsha is a political construct, and it is constructed based on the Yogadhara of Chitra. The idea is Surya Siddhanta says that Yogatara of Chitra is at 0 degree Libra. So they fixed that particular star, Spica star, at 0 degree Libra, and that is how Lahiri Ainamsha was defined. But the thing is, there are other Siddhantas which give different longitudes for this. So you can't really consider this as an anchor for the zodiac. For example, all these Siddhantas show 3 degree Libra, and Mahasiddhanta shows 2 degree 50. So my conclusion is the Yogatara of Chitra was never meant to be the anchor of the zodiac. It's not meant to be fixed, and its longitude changes from time to time. And based on when a Siddhanta was authored at that time, based on this longitude, they mentioned that longitude because Siddhantas mention the longitudes of the Yogataras of all the stars. And moreover, the Yogatara of Chitra is not on the zodiacal plane, it's basically above it. So people take the projection of that and use that as the anchor, which is kind of weird. On the other hand, the Yogatara of Pushya is consistent in many Siddhantas. All these Siddhantas I mentioned here, including Surya Siddhanta, Brahma Siddhanta, Soma Siddhanta, Urdhva Sishta Siddhanta, etc., they all give the same longitude for the Yogatara of Pushya. And also, Yogatara of Pushya is right on the zodiacal plane. It's not above the zodiacal plane and you have to project it. It's right on the zodiacal plane. Its latitude is 0. So that is basically a better candidate for being the anchor for the zodiac. And the other thing is, it is the anchor for Yuga cycle itself. Sri Krishna taught in Srimad Bhagavatam that Satya Yuga will start when Sun, Moon, and Jupiter will conjoin the Yogadhara of Pushya. So Yogadhara of Pushya is very important that way. So I fix the longitude of that at the longitude given by all these Siddhantas, and that is how I define Pushpaksha Ainamsha. And it is very close to the Ainamsha, the linear formula given in Surya Siddhanta, as well as it is very close to Dr. Raman's Raman Ainamsha, which is based on Revati star. And one more thing is philosophically, esoterically, the soul that is in the heart is the anchor for our existence. It is basically guiding everything. It is the anchor. It is supporting the mind, supporting the body, everything. And heart is in the 4th house, right? Similarly, for Kalpurusha, the heart of the Kalpurusha is in Cancer. So the anchor, if there is an anchor for Kalpurusha, the best place for it to be in Cancer. And Pushya nakshatra, which I take as the anchor, is in the Cancer sign. So that is the other reason. You can use any Ainamsha you want, but if you want to follow my calculations, etc., I strongly recommend using Pushpaksha Ainamsha. It gives better results. And one more small note is divisional charts. People use the divisional chart definition as translated by translators like Santanam, G.C. Sharma, Christian Sharma, etc. I use reformed definitions of divisional charts. This is based on what is, in my view, a correct interpretation of Parashara Maharshi. Here, parts of a sign are reckoned in reverse for several divisional charts instead of being reckoned in the same zodiacal order. For example, if you take D24, the standard definition, this is the Siddhamsha education. For art signs, the 24 parts will start from Leo and go till Cancer, 2 cycles like that. And for even signs, they start from Cancer, but again go zodiacally and end in Gemini. This is the standard definition used by all the translators. And my reformed definition is for art signs, and this is based on Parashara's words. He talked about reversal in even signs, but people interpreted it only for the devatas of the divisions, not for the signs themselves, which is wrong. So for art signs, it is still Leo to Cancer, 2 cycles. For even signs, it is Cancer, go backward. So basically trace back this. So Cancer, Geo, and end in Leo, and twice like that basically. So this is more structurally sound. This is kind of absurd. So this applies to various charts. So if you want to use this, you can use my free software. It's available on vedicastrologer.org. So you can go to vedicastrologer.org and download the free software and Jagannath Hora. And if you use author recommended preferences, it will give you these options. So one last slide, and then we'll jump into examples. It shows various areas. Like I said, divisional charts are various divisional charts show various areas of life, and areas of life shown by different charts are interlinked. Your professional life, your marital life, your parents, all these things may have links. They don't exist in vacuum. So we can study them by seeing the links between charts. And the key idea is, I'm not really presenting anything earth-shattering here, but I will show some interesting examples. But the basic idea is signs, rashis, and planets. They link multiple charts. So you can see the links between different charts in terms of the planets, planetary combinations, and the signs, etc. And you can draw some conclusions based on those. So let us start looking at some examples. Let's start with Vivekananda. We'll use Swami Vivekananda's chart as an example. Swami Vivekananda, this is the birth data. I won't repeat the birth data, but in the video you can see the exact data that I am using here. If you look at his D20 chart, and if you look at his D10 chart, in the Dasamsha chart, which shows your activities in the world, you will see that the Lagna Lord Sun and Yogakaraka. By the way, I will show both North Indian and South Indian styles, but I will mostly focus on South Indian because that's what I am comfortable with. But you can pay attention here, even though my mouse is here. So Lagna Lord Sun and the 4th and 9th Lord Yogakaraka Mars, they are together in the 11th house. They are aspecting the 5th house of fame. So that gives excellent Rajyoga. Rajyoga in the career relating to dharma, spreading dharma, and also Sun Lagna Lord is involved, so a charismatic spreader of dharma, and also they are in the sign of Gemini, which is the sign of communication. So basically, a lot of public interactions, lot of public speaking, etc., with lot of charisma and lot of authority, and that makes him very famous. And the Sun Mars combination, if you look at his Vimshamsha chart. Let's see the Vimshamsha chart. It shows the spiritual sadhana. You will see that Sun is the 8th Lord, and Mars is the planet in the 8th house. And you will see that they have a parivartana. Sun and Mars have a parivartana. So there is a parivartana between Sun and Mars. So Mars will act as though he is Sun there. So there is a solar and Martian influence on the 8th house, and the 8th house is the house of occult experiences. It is the house of experiencing something beyond, and this is also the sadhana of intense sadhana. So the intense sadhana he has done is related to the fame that he has in his activities in the world. So that is one conclusion that you can get. And let's see the D24 chart. If you say the D24 chart, you will see that the 8th house is very powerful. The 8th house contains 8th Lord Jupiter in Mola Trikona with Rahu and Ketu. And Rahu and Ketu are very good planets for occult knowledge. And 8th house is the house of occult knowledge. In Siddhamsa, 8th house shows occult knowledge of what is beyond. Because 8th house of the natural zodiac is Scorpio, and that also shows occult, hidden things. So hidden knowledge of the hidden things is shown by Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu. So this combination shows Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu shows breaking rules, etc., not being completely traditional, but Jupiter shows being traditional and having Vedic knowledge, etc. So he will combine both. It's an interesting combination. And if you look at his Vimshamsha, the chart of spiritual sadhana, you will see that the 3rd house has strong Rahu Ketu influence. Rahu and Ketu are in Pisces, especially Ketu. Meena is a good sign for Ketu. Some people consider it to be his Mola Trikona. So Ketu is strong. So Rahu Ketu are there, and Jupiter is exalted and aspects his own sign. When a planet aspects his own sign, it makes it stronger. So there is a strong Jupiter Rahu Ketu influence on the 3rd house. So the occult knowledge he has is related to the 3rd house. And what does 3rd house show? 9th house shows Guru, and it is the 7th from the 3rd house. So it is basically interacting with Guru. That is why in tradition they say 3rd house is the house of Guru Upadesha, which means Upadesha from Guru, teachings of Guru. So he had excellent group desha. Actually, there are a lot of yogas. If you analyze here, there are a lot of powerful rajogas in the third house. So he had a great guru who gave him a lot of upadesha, and that is the reason for his occult knowledge, terrific knowledge. Let us look at one more spiritual example, and then we'll move on to other non-spiritual things. So look at Ramana Maharshi. I want to see the links between his D4 and D20. So if you look at the okay, if you look at the D20 chart, okay, if you look at the D20 chart, you will see if you will see that there is a Moon Saturn Mercury combination in the eighth house. So Moon Saturn combination gives, normally it is considered to give Vishada, etc., sadness, depression, etc. But in the chart of Vimsamsa, it gives detachment from the world. So in the eighth house of occult experience, this combination of Moon and Saturn, and also Mercury is the second lord in the eighth house, is a Maraka, and also Saturn is the seventh lord. So Moon is the 12th lord. So 12th lord, second lord, seventh lord are conjoined in the eighth house. This is a Marka combination. So Marka combinations in Vimsamsa give experiences, occult experiences, and things like experiencing samadhi. So this Mercury Moon Saturn combination was actually activated. I won't show how, but at the time when he had that experience of samadhi at the age of 16 at home, this combination was basically activated, and Jupiter is the lord of that. He's aspecting that, just like in the other chart. So Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury combination. And if you look at the Chaturthamsa chart, which shows your residence, your house, Jupiter Moon combination is in the third house. The fourth lord Mercury is in the third house, which shows loss of home, because fourth house is the house of your residence. So it shows basically being displaced from residence. And from that house, Jupiter is the Marka. So he is with Lagna Lord from this house in the 12th house of Last. So Jupiter Mercury combination, and also Moon and Saturn are the other planets who give detachment from things here. And Moon Saturn combination is on the fourth house here, and that's not a good combination. Saturn is the eighth lord, Moon is the second lord, and in general, Moon Saturn Rahu Ketu combination is not good. So this combination on the fourth house can deprive of the home. So basically, the spiritual experience he had deprived him of having a nice home. So like this, you can see the links between various charts. Let us see a few material examples. Let's see Dhirubhai Ambani. This is a chart of Dhirubhai Ambani, whose Vimshamsa let us not look at. Let's look at the Hora chart and Dasyamsa chart. Okay, so this is the chart. This is the Dasyamsa chart of career, and you can see that the 10th house is very strong with an exalted Mercury. He's also the 7th lord of business. So, and Mercury in general can also show business. So he shows a businessman. And Moon is the 8th lord in the 8th house. Though he's in Manakaraka Sthana, being the 8th lord in 8th house, he's very strong. So he shows a gambler, a risk taker. 8th house is for risk taking in career. And most important thing is, Lagna, 9th lord sun is exalted in the 5th house, and 5th lord is in Mura Trikona there. So this powerful Rajoga between the 9th and 5th lords is really auspicious. So he's a very successful person. But let us see the Hora chart. If you look at the Hora chart, you will see that the 12th house is the house of loss or investment. 12th lord in the second house will show keeping rotating the money. So if somebody has the 12th lord of investments in the second house, or second lord in the 12th house, they will keep rotating the money. They will be in the Samsa chart is the 8th lord in the 8th house, which was gambling, risk taking. So his career is based on rotating that money. So that is one link that you can see. The other link is the Mars is a very strong planet here. He is the dispositor of the Bhagyesha sun, as well as he is the Poropunyesha, lord of the Poropunya, and he's in the 5th house of fame and success. So one thing is, he's very famous for being being very aggressive, because this is Aries or occupied by Mars and another fiery planet. So he's very famous for being a very aggressive person, very dynamic and aggressive go-getter. And if you look at the Hora chart, you will see that in the chart of finances, Mars is Yoka, he is good for his finances, and he's a malefic planet with Rahu Ketu in the sixth house, exalted. So he is really a fighter when it comes to financial matters. He will just destroy his enemies. He will be ruthless. So the ruthlessness in pursuing money and the fame in career as an aggressive person, are there is a link between them. So like this, you can see the links between various charts. Let us quickly look at the Navamsha chart. Okay. So you can see that in the Navamsha chart, Moon is in the seventh house. So Moon shows marriage in the Navamsha chart. So in terms of investments and risk taking in career, etc., because that Moon is in Navamsha, once he gets married, it can be a trigger. It can basically increase the risk taking and it can give him success. And also in the Navamsha chart, fifth house of love is occupied by Sun. So that is, you can see that the Sun is a very good planet in Hora and Dasamsa also. So is having a love marriage and having a love for the wife, etc., can also be beneficial in the financial and professional lives for this person. Let us look at one more material example. Let us look at the chart of Bill Gates. Let us look at the, we can see the Hora chart also. Let's see first let's see the Dasamsha chart. You will see that Lagna Lord is in the seventh house, which is a good combination for being a businessman. Fifth house is the house of business and partnerships. And there is a Raj Yoga between fifth Lord Moon in Lagna and Lagna Lord Jupiter. There is a Gajkesari Yoga as well as a Raj Yoga. So this is a very important yoga in the chart. And also Mercury, the fourth Lord, is in own sign, giving Bhadra Yoga and aspecting the 10th house. There is a strong Mercury influence on the 10th house. And if you look at the Hora chart, you will see that, let us see where Jupiter is. Jupiter is a very strong planet. He's the fourth and seventh lord in the fourth house. So he's giving a nice Raj Yoga in the Hora chart. He shows having clear direction, financial direction, and he shows business. So he's basically very clear about his financial matters, and he uses that in his business. And the other thing is, you can see that Saturn and Venus. If you see Saturn and Venus, they are the fifth lord and ninth lord in the ninth house. This is a very powerful combination. So Saturn Venus combination in the ninth house makes him a very rich person. And as a matter of fact, I won't again go into dasas, etc., but during their periods, he was lifty, etc., was due to the fact that he was world's richest man. That was what made him really, really famous. People knew about him, and that is what the Saturn Venus combination will show. But more interesting will be his link between D20. There must be some link between D24 and D10. Let us see. Yeah. Okay. So the seventh house of business in Dasamsha is owned by Mercury, who's in own sign, and also he's the Karaka for business, and Jupiter. So there is a strong Mercury Jupiter influence on having a business, having an own venture, as opposed to working for somebody else. And if you look at the Siddhamsa chart of education, Jupiter is the eighth lord in the eighth house, and Mercury is the second lord. Second lord in eighth is a Marka. So second and eighth lords in eighth house is a Marka combination, and the shows stopping education, stopping the learning. So there was a link between stopping the education and starting a business. He dropped out of Harvard University and he didn't finish his degree. He dropped out and he started a venture, and that eventually became Microsoft. So there is a link between the business and between the education. So like this, you can see you can see various divisional charts. If an important set of planets are affecting some house in one chart and another house in another chart, you can conclude that there will be a link between those areas of life. Let us look at the chart of a Telugu actor called Pavan Kalyan. He is called Power Star Pavan Kalyan. Let us look at the first. Let's look at D3. Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to use this D3 for this purpose. Just the standard traditional Drakkana. Yeah. So let us see. Okay. So let us see the Drakkana chart. Why I am seeing Drakkana is, for those who don't know this person, his brother, his name is Chiranjeevi. He is known as megastar in Telugu film industry. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, film star in Telugu film industry. And he's the younger brother of that brother. And he was spiritually inclined, and he wasn't really interested in film industry, but he unintentionally such a huge star. He's a very popular star right now. So if you look at the Drakkana chart, the Lagna is an even sign. So 11th house will show elder brother, and his immediate elder brother is Nagababu. Second elder brother is Chiranjeevi, eldest brother. And because it's an even sign, we count in this direction. So Lagna, this is the first elder brother. This is the eldest brother. So this shows Chiranjeevi. And if you look at this Lagna, you will see the most important combination is here. Lagna Lord Moon and the Yokaraka, 5th Lord and 10th Lord Mars are together. So Moon Mars combination will make him very famous. So this shows having a famous eldest brother, second elder brother, Moon Mars. And if you look at okay, if you look at the Dasamsha chart, his own Dasamsha chart, if you look at his own Dasamsha chart, you will see that the 10th house is very strong. First, I'll talk about the link later, but let us look at his own Dasamsha chart. In his Dasamsha chart, the 10th Lord Saturn, Yokaraka Saturn is in own house. 10th Lord Saturn is in 10th house, giving a Shasha Yoga. Saturn is very strong there, and Moon is aspecting the 10th house, and Moon can show Moon Venus can show acting career. So Moon, just like his brother has Moon influence on the 10th Lord, so Moon is aspecting the 10th house, so it can give a political career. But let us see the house of fame. If you see the house of fame, the house of fame is 5th house in the Samsa. It is, one second, I was trying to show the link with the brother, why his career started with the brother. I was unable to see. One second, let me. Yeah, I'm unable to see. I'm missing something here. Let us skip that. Let us see the link between his Dasamsa, for example. One thing that really made him famous, people really love about him, is he's such a disinterested star. People are like praising him to the skies in all these meetings, and he'll be like embarrassed, and you can see genuineness in his embarrassment. He's like laughing with embarrassment. So people like that aloofness or that humility, and you can see that in the Dasamcha chart, the 5th lord of fame, Mercury, and the 7th lord of Mars interacting with people. Those are together in Aries in the 12th house of humility. So 12th house of loss or humility. So that is why the one of the reasons for his fame is his humility. People really love his humility, and also he's very reticent. Whereas other stars speak a lot, he doesn't speak a lot, but people really love him even though he doesn't speak a lot. And if you look at the Nakshatramsa chart, you will see that Nakshatramsa shows your deep instincts, your subconscious instincts. If you look at the second house of speech, you will see Saturn and Rahu there, 6th Lord Saturn and Rahu. So he's very reticent. But the thing is that though Saturn and Rahu are the 10th Lord, and Saturn is so powerful. So even though he's very reticent, people are really, really appreciative of him. And that is actually one of the reasons for his fame. It will be interesting to see one example where there is a link between father and a career. Let us look at George W. Bush. This is a chart of George W. Bush, and if you look at the Dvadasamsha chart, in the Dvadasamsha chart, the ninth house will show father, and if you look at the ninth house, this is the ninth house. This shows father, and the one of the important yogas here. There are several yogas, but the most important thing is Lagna Lord Sun and the Yokarka, fourth and ninth Lord Mars are together. Mars and Sun are together in the seventh house. So that shows that father has a lot of fame, and of course you can see that the career wise, you see Saturn Rahu influence, also Venus. He's in the 12th house, so he was an important person in the CIA. He was in the spy intelligence agencies, etc. His whole career was that. So that is why you will see that father's career is influenced by Rahu, Venus, Saturn, etc. But the thing is, the political power that came at the end of that long career in intelligence came because of this Rajoga, when this Rajoga was triggered. So Mars and Sun combination is a very important combination. And you will see that as far as he is concerned, his political power is concerned, you will see that there is a strong Martian influence in his chart also. And looking at Ghatika Lagna is the seat of power more than the Lagna. So looking at the Ghatika Lagna, Lagna Lord Mars and 10th Lord Sun are together, and they are aspecting the ninth house of fortune. So this combination is a very important combination. For also, this is the third house of initiative from the Ghatika Lagna. So for taking initiative towards political power and to get political power, this is a very important combination. And there is a link between that Martian combination and that this Martian combination here. So you can see that his initiative towards getting political power. And also the other thing is, seventh house is the house of desire. So even from Ghatika Lagna, it is initiative to taking power, but from Lagna it is basically the seventh house itself. So all his business ventures as well as his political initiative, etc., have Mars and influence, Mars and Rahu influence. And Mars and Sun are in Rahu house. Actually, Rahu owns this house, so the Mars and Rahu influence is there here. So the father's connections and father's political influence, father's yoga played a role in his connections, etc., and that played a role in the rise of his political career also. So that is how you can link the Dvadasamsa and Dasamsa charts. Actually, it'll be interesting to see his D27. I don't think I checked earlier. If you look at the D27 chart of George W. Bush, okay, if you see the Lagna contains Ketu, because he's seen as somebody who's prone to mistakes, etc. I was wondering there should be some Ketu influence. Rahu Lagna is an Aquarius, so that shows a philosophically oriented at the subconscious level person, and Ketu will give a propensity to make mistakes. So anyway, I'm not linking anything. I was just curious about his D27. Let's see one more example of connections to father. Okay, Dasamsha. If you look at Indira Gandhi's chart, this is the data that I use. If you look at Srimati Indira Gandhi's chart, the Iron Lady of India from 1970s, 1960s, 70s, and 80s, you can see that in the Dvadasamsa, this is the Lagna, and the ninth house will show father. So this is the house that shows father, and if you see that from this as Lagna, if you look here, the Yogakaraka Saturn is in the fifth house. Ninth Lord and 10th Lord Saturn is in the fifth house, and his dispositor Mercury is in Lagna. So Mercury and Saturn are very important planets for the power that the father enjoyed, right? So and so Mercury and Saturn are the important planets for the power that father enjoyed. And if you look at the Dasamsha chart, in the Dasamsha chart, if you look at the Ghatika Lagna, the Ghatika Lagna is owned by Mercury, and Mercury is aspecting it. So whenever any house is owned and is aspected by its owner, it becomes strong. So for the power, for the seat of power, Mercury is a very, very important planet. And also Saturn, if you see, Saturn is the ninth lord and he's with the 10th lord Jupiter. So there is a Rajoga, even though it's in the 11th house, 12th house. Actually, based on the longitude, I believe it falls in the 11th house. Katika Lagna is at the end. So it is actually aspecting the 5th house. But in any case, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury are the important planets for the political power in this chart. Whereas here, the political power that father enjoyed, for that, Mercury and Saturn are the important planets. And one more thing is, let us see one more thing. She is known as a very fierce person. So you can see in the Dasyamsha chart, you can see that the 10th Lord, Lagna Lord Mars is in the 10th house. He's exalted. So that is why she's basically, her nature in career is of somebody very aggressive and very strong. But of course, that has no connections with the father here, because when based on her father's influence, she came into politics, but that personality came later. That has no link to her father. And let us quickly check her Navamsha. Her husband Firoz Gandhi, he was a fiercely independent person. So if you see the Navamsha chart, the seventh house of husband is Leo. It is occupied by Sun, and also Saturn and Ketu are in the 6th house. So it shows somebody very a fighter, basically a very aggressive fighter, and very Sun in the Lagna shows a very authoritative person, somebody who's very aggressive and very authoritative. So he clashed with Jawaharlal Nehru and he also separated from her. But one thing I wanted to see is separation from from her husband, being away from her husband, especially the death of her husband, was very important in her political career. When her husband died, she she rose in her political career after the death. So I was trying to see if there are any links there. So you can see that from this house, from for husband, the Saturn is the 7th lord, so he's a Marka, and Jupiter, he's the 8th lord. So that eighth lord Jupiter is the ninth lord of Bhagya here. And also there is a Rajoga between Saturn and Jupiter, the ninth and 10th lords. So and more importantly, the other factor is Mars. He's a malefic. Natural malefic in the second house can be a Marka. So Mars is really, out of all the planets, Mars can show the death of husband, and also he died because of heart problems. So Mars is the 4th lord. He's in the second house of death. So death of husband due to heart ailments, that basically triggered the bold Indira Gandhi. The bold avatar in her career was linked to the death of husband. So like that, you can see links. And I will see one last example and then we can go to questions and answers. Let us look at I want to see Barack Obama, the former US President Barack Obama. I wanted to see his chart. Okay, so you can see that in the, I want to see a subtle link between the Dvasamsa and Dasamsa. In the Dasamsa chart, you can see that there are several yogas, even though in the 12th house this is a very powerful Raj Yoga. But one important combination is the 10th Lord Moon is in the 10th house. So Moon in the 10th house is a very important planet, and also based on the Dashas in the Dashamsha, that planet was triggered when he became the president. So Moon is a very he's a very powerful planet here, and also he's taking part in the Gajkesar Yoga here because Jupiter is in a Kendra. And if you look at the Dvasamsa chart, you will see that the 4th house shows mother. This is the house of mother, and you will see that Moon is the 3rd lord in the 8th house, death. So mother's death had a very profound influence on his career, on his political activities. See, for example, one of the biggest legacies of his presidency is the healthcare reform that he did, where he said nobody should be ever refused health insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. and that was coming from his mother's death. His mother died because of cancer, and he wanted to make sure that nobody will be refused healthcare because of some pre-existing condition. Irrespective of their health conditions, they can get health insurance, but for that you need to put a premium on people who don't want health insurance. So it was a messy political fight, but he took it up because of his mother. So by the way, 10th moon in the 10th house can show a big focus on healthcare, because moon shows caring for people, healthcare in the political career. So Barack Obama's Obamacare or healthcare reform, Affordable Care Act, I believe is called ACA. That was the biggest legacy, and that is basically linked to moon, and that moon is linked to the mother's death. And also, if you see the mother's before the death, the suffering itself, that is from the sixth house of disease. You will see that from this has Lagna, fourth house of mother as Lagna. The sixth house of disease has Sun, Rahu, and Venus owns it, and he's debilitated. So Venus, Sun, Rahu combination will show the disease that the mother has, and Rahu can show some kind of cancer. And you can see that here, the Raj Yoga here, the Lagna Lord Venus, fifth Lord Rahu, and the ninth Lord Mercury are together in the 12th house. 12th house. So there is a Raj Yoga between these planets. So these two planets who have this Raj Yoga in the Dasyamsha, they are linked to this. So his mother's death by cancer was an important trigger to in his political career. And actually, we can see one more thing here. His mother's mother, his grandmother. If you see this has Lagna, fourth from fourth, you will see that Rahu is the seventh lord. He's in the third house, afflicting Lagna lord. And Venus is the third lord in second. Third lord in second or second lord in third become Markas, just like eighth lord in seventh or seventh lord in eighth. So Venus and Rahu are Markas for grandmother also. So the other link is grandmother's death can also be a trigger for political power. So when mother died, soon after that his actual political career started. But when grandmother died, that was during the presidential election. So he was very soon he was elected the president. So grandmother's death or mother's death can be triggers for political power, and also his main political agenda, his karma, is linked to the death of his mother. He is inspired by the death of his mother. So like this, you can see links between various divisional charts. In the limited time, I tried to show a few examples, and the goal of this is to provide some food for thought. This is not comprehensive, but I'm hoping that this can give some food for thought for future generation of researchers and students, and they can take it further. And one thing I haven't demonstrated here, to keep it simple, is I didn't use divisional longitudes, but when you're looking at conjunctions of planets, pay attention to the longitudes within the division, because if a planet is in a particular part of a sign is mapped to the Dasyamsha, depending on whether it's the beginning of the sign or the end of the sign, its longitude within that sign can be computed. So the Jagannath Hora will give you the divisional longitudes. So if two planets are apart by, let's say, 25 degrees, that yoga is not really any use. Whereas if they are close, then it is of more significance. So you can also pay attention to the divisional longitudes. So like this, you can try to apply this knowledge. But one thing you have to keep in mind is I strongly recommend using Pushyapaksha Ainamsha, and strongly recommend using the reformed definitions of the divisional charts that are programmed in Jagannath Hora, and make sure that you have an accurate time. Make sure that events make sense going back a few events. Otherwise, adjust the time. If you don't do that, the it may be just noise. That's the risk with the divisional charts. You need to have an accurate time. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for the opportunity. Now I will be happy to answer any questions. If you enter those questions, those will be relayed to me by the technical team. So whatever they relay to me, I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful, insightful class. And the response from the audience clearly indicates that they have highly appreciated your session.
Thank
We
you.
now move to the question and answer session. The questions will come up on the screen. You can kindly read it aloud and, for the benefit of everyone, then answer them.
Yes. Can I read the name also, or should I leave the name out? So there is a question here.
Sir, not required. You can just read the question and you can answer.
Yeah, okay. So I'll leave out the name. I'll just answer the question. Read the question. Sir, my question to you: can we come up with a modern abstract representation of effects of planets together on the native? Come up with a modern abstract representation of effects of planets together on the native. This is a very vague and loaded question, but the bottom line is the the effect of various planets on a native is is carried out through various signs, carried out through various divisional charts. It affects through various areas of life shown by various divisional charts. So, unfortunately, we just have 9 planets, 12 signs, and 16 charts. But the thing is, we know based on what kind of things various planets show, we can basically try to characterize them, and we can try to find some links. But the thing is, in my opinion, there is some role for intuition here, because Venus can show 10 different things, Sun can show 10 different things, and trying to see the planets, rasis, and the divisional chart show you the links, and putting it together is finally the intuition of the astrologer. So I'm not fully. This is a very vague question, but I try to answer to the best of my ability. Can we go to the next question? Don't the nakshatras play any role in the various divisional charts? That's a fantastic question. So the thing is, nakshatras are important. Just like rashis are there in the zodiac, physically rashis are there. Similarly, physically nakshatras are there. You divide the zodiac into 12 rashis and 27 nakshatras, and that is physical. And then in the divisional charts, what we are doing is we are taking the physical position of a planet. Suppose a planet is at 5 degree Taurus. We are saying that the abstract position of that, as far as Dashyamsa is concerned, is so and so. It is at, let's say, 7 degree Leo. So corresponding to that, there is a physical location. So it's the abstract position of that planet in that that divisional chart. But to make the chart, you need to put it physically in a particular rashi. So when you put it in a particular rashi, you are automatically also putting it in a particular nakshatra. In other words, when you make the Navamsha chart, suppose Rashi is a planet is at 5 degree in Aries. So you are saying that that planet at 5 degree Aries is in Taurus in the Navamsha, which means the Navamsha of that planet is in Taurus. And Taurus contains Kritika, a few padas of Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigasara. So based on that longitude, in Navamsha, the Navamsha position of that planet may be in Bharani. So you can find the nakshatras in the divisional chart, and I do use those nakshatras in terms of transits for things like Sarvatopatra Chakra, as well as relationships like Navataras. Most importantly, I use those for reckoning the dasas. I haven't demonstrated it here because that's not the topic. I find, just like you find the Rasi chart based dasa, in the particular example, when moon is at 5 degree Aries, the initial dasa will be Ashwini, and after that, Ketu, after that Venus, etc. But in the Navamsha chart, if I want to find the Navamsha, initial dasa may be Venus, because Navamsha position of moon may be in Bharani, and then it may be Sun. And I do, if you look at my other videos on my YouTube channel, PVR 108 YouTube channel, you will see a lot of videos where I show a lot of examples. So I do use the dashas reckoned from the moon of the divisional chart. If I want events in marriage or events in career, events in education, children, childbirth, etc., I use moon of that divisional chart and the corresponding nakshatra. From that, I find the nakshatra dashas, Vimshotri, Ashtotri, whatever is the most applicable in that chart. I find that, and based on that, I make predictions, and you can see things more precisely that way. So nakshatras are important in the divisional charts. You can use them. Yes, they do play a role. Thanks for a great question. Next question, please. Next question: how does your name link to divisional charts, if any? I don't really have any useful insights to share on this. So I believe that some Nadi Granthas do talk about the names, and Nadi Granthas in Nadi several charts are used up to Nadyamsa. So there may be some connections, but I'm not really, because Lagna shows your identity. So there may be some divisional chart Lagna and planets that are associated with Lagna, they may have a link with the name, but I haven't really done any research on that, and I don't have any meaningful insights to share apart from what I mentioned. Thank you. Next question, please. Regarding Parivartana Yoga, you said, can you please tell me when will this take place after birth of a child? First of all, my view on Parivartana Yoga, some people say that Parivartana Yoga means those planets will act as though they are the other planet. If Sun and Mars, in the example I showed, Mars in Leo, Sun in Scorpio, Mars will basically, Sun is no longer in Scorpio, he is in Sun. I don't advocate that view. Mars is still in Leo, Sun is still in Scorpio, but the thing is, Mars will have some nature of Sun. Mars will act as though he has some nature of Sun there. He's still Mars. His ownership is still the same. If he is the ninth lord in Lagna, he's still the ninth lord in Lagna. He's not Lagna lord in Lagna. He will act as ninth lord in Lagna, but he will act as though he's in own sign. He will be strong. In other words, suppose I live in Boston and my friend lives in San Francisco, and I need to work in San Francisco and he's moving to Boston. So we exchange our houses. I live at his house, he lives at my house. So I feel comfortable because, and I take good care as though it is my house, because he's also doing the same thing to my house. So it is mutual. So that way, when there is a Parivartana, the planet is strong. It acts as though it is in its own house, not in somebody else's house. So that is one thing in terms of the strength of the house. But his ownership is still the same. If he is fourth lord and ninth lord in Lagna, it is still the same. He's not Lagna lord in Lagna because of Parivartana. And the other thing is, if the Parivartana is between Kendra Lord and Kona Lord, or two Dusthana Lords, that is a yoga, because two planets in exchange, it is like they're talking to each other. In other words, if I am in San Francisco in my friend's house and my friend is in Boston in my house, we communicate more because we have that connection of living in each other's house. We communicate more, and when we communicate more, we collaborate more. So similarly, two planets having a Parivartana, they collaborate more effectively. So if there is some kind of synergy between their agendas, that synergy will be fulfilled better. In other words, if one is Kendra Lord, one is Kona Lord, the synergy between that Kendra and Kona will be collaborated better, so that Rajoga will fructify. And when will it fructify? Those Rajogas will fructify when the dasas and antardasas of those planets come based on the most applicable dasa in that chart. But in terms of being strong as though you are in one house, that is throughout the chart, throughout the life. It is not triggered by any particular dasa. Thank you. Next question, please. Next question. If we overcome a difficult karma through spiritual activities, will it be reflected in birth chart that we have burnt that karma? Unfortunately, birth chart doesn't show what you are going to do. It shows what you are born with. It shows the current momentum of karmas. It only shows the circumstances you will be placed in, the environments you will be placed in, under which circumstances you have to do your activities. That is what it shows. It doesn't show what you are doing now. So if you are doing a lot of remedies, if you are doing spiritual activities, and that is burning your karmas, the thing is, it may show, the fact that you do spiritual activities may show in the D20 chart. But the thing is, a particular karma may be avoided. It is very difficult to see. Having said that, some karmas are very dradha. Some are very basically stubborn karmas, some prarabdha karmas. So those karmas, prarabdha literally means it is a gerund form of prarabdha, which means to start. So it is basically already started giving the results. The arrow has already left the bow of Rudra. So the suffering has already been triggered. So you can't avoid it. So some karmas are unavoidable, but some karmas are more flexible. So that can be seen based on whether the ill effects, the afflictions in the chart are given by Dusthana Lords or Kendra Lords, Kona Lords, etc. You can get some sense of how strong how dudha this karma is. But the thing is, it's very difficult to know whether a particular karma has been overcome or not. But it is most useful to not worry about which karma is or being overcome and which is not. Just do your remedies sincerely and then leave it to God. But one thing I will add, like I said, the Janma Chakra shows the circumstances in which you have to do your karmas in this life at birth. But the thing is, based on the remedies you have done, your circumstances may be alleviated. They may be improved or they may be worsened through the course of your life. There, Prasna chart will add. Apart from the natal chart and its own annual charts based on the natal chart and transits based on the natal chart, dashas based on the natal chart, which are all frozen in time at birth. If you use the Prasna chart, it will give you better insight into the current position. So that is why good astrologers always combine Prasna chart with the natal chart and techniques based on the natal chart. Next question, please. Can you please give a reference of different aspects of different houses in divisional charts? So I don't exactly remember the verse now, but Parasara talks about Lagna being aspected by the same planet in various divisional charts. If it's aspected by the same planet in various divisional charts, that is a Raj Yoga. So he does talk about aspects in the divisional chart. But the thing is, most fundamentally, some people believe that divisional chart, when you say Aries in a divisional chart, that's a different Aries. No, it's the same Aries. There is no Navamsha Aries, there is no Dasamsha Aries. So the thing is, the positions of the planets, when you say Mars in Rasi chart, is physical Mars. When you say Mars in Navamsha, it's not the physical Mars, it's an abstract entity called Navamsha Mars. So those entities are abstract, but the thing is, the chart they exist in is still the same chart. So when some people think that because this is abstract, there is no aspect, but the thing is, there is an indication in Parasara. I don't remember the verse, but I think it's in the chapter on Rajogas, on yogas. Any next question, please? Oh, by the way, on the last question, one last thing is the proof of the pudding is in eating. So if you try aspects and various yogas in divisional charts, if you see it working consistently, that's it basically. For me, that's it. Apart from the verse from Parasara. Kalasarpa dosha in birth chart. Which divisional chart should be checked? First of all, I'm not a huge believer in Kalasarpa dosha. It is not given by any rishis. It is given in some tradition, but it's not mentioned in the works of rishis like Parasara. So I'm not really I don't scare people about it. I don't focus on it. And moreover, here we are talking about a physical occurrence, all the planets being hemmed between Rahu and Ketu. So it is mainly in the Rasi chart. And logically speaking, you may be able to see similar thing in the other charts, but I haven't done any work on it. And my intuition is it's not really of significance in divisional charts. And even in the Rasi chart, it's not really as important as people make it out to be. This is really a money-making tool for astrologers. Next question. How to determine the strength comparison between the nodes and the main 7 grahas? Because Shadbala only shows the main 7 grahas. For example, how to tell which is stronger between Jupiter and Rahu? Okay, so Shadbala is just one way to judge the strength. But when you are judging a chart, a particular divisional chart or particular Rasi chart, if you want to see which planets are strong there, whether they are in own sign, Mulatrikona, exaltation sign, or inimical sign, or Adhishatru Rasi, Adhimitra Rasi, those are very important. And the interesting thing in the case of Rahu and Ketu is they are, for them also you can see whether they are in friendly sign, unfriendly sign, etc. But one thing with Rahu Ketu is they are strong when they are with people, and they are particularly strong when they are with planets that they don't like. So if Rahu is, let's say, with Moon, he will be strong because he's excited. He's like an underworld person. So when he's fighting, when a gangster, for example, is fighting with a normal person or a cop or somebody, he's in his elements. So Rahu and Ketu are stronger when they are with planets, and especially when they are with planets that they don't like, they're stronger. Whereas other planets, they're stronger if they are in a place that they like and with people that they like. So if they are in a friendly sign and they are with other planets that they like, that are either friends or neutral to them, they are stronger. So when I assess a chart, that is what I pay most importance to see the yogas, etc. Which planets are strong, which yogas are really dominating. That is what I pay more attention to rather than any specific balas. And Shadbala, Ashtakabala bala, different balas may have Vimshopaka bala. You have different balas. So they all have different roles to play. But this basic assessment is more useful, in my opinion, than numerical things. Next question, please. Next question, please. Sir, if we are looking at career, should we pay more attention to 10th of D10 or equal importance to 10th of D1 or both together or come to a conclusion? Thank you, sir. Very good question. Lot of people will have the same question. So 10th of D1 is important. It basically shows at the physical level what is the work that somebody is doing, or what is the impact, physical impact of the work one is doing. But the thing is, if you look at the planet owning the 10th house, in the 10th house, aspecting the 10th house, aspecting the 10th lord, having Argala on the 10th house, having Argala on the 10th lord, they all can have an influence on the career. So there will be a lot of planets. So it is better to look at the D10. But the thing is, just looking at the 10th house in the D10 will be simplistic, because 10th house is the work that you do in the world and it is your karma sthana. But the thing is, somebody's activities in the society may be more defined not by the karma that one does, but by the obstacles one overcomes. Because second house, sixth house, and 10th house are karma trikonas. Artha trikonas are karma trikonas. Second house of resources you have for your work. Sixth house of fighting obstacles to get your work done. And 10th house of accomplishing your work. So all these three are important. In one chart, let's say second lord and 10th lord are in sixth house, and sixth house is very strong. Sixth lord is exalted. Sixth may be dominant. So that person's career may be dominated by overcoming lot of obstacles. And that is the important combination in that chart. Similarly, if you look at Barack Obama's chart, you see that the 12th house was very strong. The Rajoga was in the 12th house. Even though 10th lord is in 10th house, the 12th house had really powerful Rajoga. So you have to see all the houses. If, for example, in his case, first lord, fifth lord, and ninth lord were together, that's a terrific Rajoga. So irrespective of which house they are in, if there is a very powerful Rajoga, that dominates the chart. And 12th house is the house of giving. So his career, even though he could be a high flying lawyer, he was a brilliant student, and he had a great career. But he basically, after a little bit of internship, he started social activities. He was working for NGOs, working with Chicago's downtrodden communities. That's 12th house, giving, caring for people, giving people. So, and that actually resulted in Rajoga for him, that took him to senator of the state, and then senator in the US. Very quickly, very few years, he became president. So 12th house is very important for him. Venus, Mercury, and Rahu are the most important planets in his chart. And Mercury is exalted and he's the dispositor. So he's a very important planet. And Mercury, by the way, his Karakatva is speech. So basically, communication skills and speech were what really triggered that Rajoga for him. So what I suggest is D10 is more important, but 10th house is simplistic. Don't just go by the 10th house. You have the whole chart for career, the work that you do in the society. Look at the whole damn chart. You don't just go by one side. So look at the chart, see, identify the important combinations. And also, if you know how to use dasas, you can see which dasas are running now. But if you want to see statically, based on the natal chart, identify the most important yoga, and based on that, see what kind of career is more useful, and also what propitiation will be good. Great question. Thank you very much. Next question, please. Next question, please. Do exaltation and debilitation work in divisional like Lagna chart? Yes, they do. For example, one of the balas that Parasara talked about, Vimshopaka bala, is based on whether a planet is in own sign or exaltation sign or Mola Trikona in various divisional charts. You count the number of divisional charts, and based on that, you find that bala. So there is precedent in Parasara for using exaltation and debilitation in divisional chart. Next question, please. Next question, please. Sir, 7th Lord Saturn in 7th in D1 chart Seventh Lord Saturn in seventh in D1 chart and seventh Lord Sun in Lagna in D9 chart causes delay or negative marriage. See, I hate to comment specific combinations in a forum like this, because if somebody has this combination, he or she may be upset about it. So some combinations are more conducive to delay in marriage. Some combinations are more conducive to happiness in marriage or early marriage. But the thing is, I always advocate being more nuanced instead of going by thumb rules. Assess the whole chart. Look at the strength of Lagna Lord, strength of seventh house, strength of seventh Lord. And like I said, just like in D10, I told you, instead of just looking at the 10th house, look at the whole house, whole damn chart, because it shows your work in the world. Similarly, Similarly, D9 is the chart of your dharma and marriage. So the whole house, the whole chart shows that. It is not just the seventh house that shows marriage. So, for example, ninth house of dharma, ninth house of blessings from gods, fifth house of purapunya, these are all important. And sixth house of fights and delay in marriage, eighth house of breaking in the marriage. You have to look at all the chart, and fourth house of being comfortable in your marriage. All these are important. So I will suggest looking at the whole chart and then taking cognizance of the situation, rather than just going by one house or one planet and drawing conclusions based on thumb rules. That is very dangerous. You can always jump to wrong conclusions. So I encourage people to have a holistic understanding of a chart rather than going by thumb rules and going by one particular principle. So I'm sorry if this is not what you are looking for. Unfortunately, I don't want to answer specifically such specific questions. So on that note, I think we are out of questions. So I will hand over. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity to Raman and Rajeswari Research Foundation. I consider Dr. Raman as a guru. I learned from his books, and my father, who is my guru, had lot of respect for him and actually met him. I never had the fortune, but my father and brother physically met him and spent an hour with him and took his blessings. I am really fond of Dr. Raman, and I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much. ओम तत्सत् सर्वं श्री कृष्णार्पणमस्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वे जना सुखिनो भवन्तु यावत् भूमण्डले सनातन धर्मो वर्धतु विशेषतः भरतखण्डे अमेरिकावर्षे टिबेट् राष्ट्रे च ओम शांति शांति शांतिः.
It is believed that astrology is a language, and if you understand the language, sky speaks to you. Thank you very much, Sri Narasimha Rao, for the excellent masterclass. And I'm sure all those who have attended the session have been enlightened about the same. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us, enriching, and sharing us with the knowledge that you have obtained. Heartfelt thank you from the Raman and Rajeswari Foundation as well. Thank you very much. Namaste. I would like to take this opportunity to inform the audience that the next masterclass session is on Saturday, that is September 11th, 2021. And the class will be by Sri Andrew Foss, and he will teach about Jyotisha and a conscious planet. See you again there. And if you would like to stay informed about the activities of the foundation, we encourage you to visit our website www.rrrf.in or join our Telegram channel. Thank you, viewers. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. I will close the session.
Okay, thank you everyone. Namaskar. Have a
Namaste,
good
sir.
night.
Thank you.
Good night, all of you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Happy Teachers' Day, sir.
Oh, happy teachers to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.